Hey, what's up? Today is Monday, the 15th of July 2024. I didn't just complete my 9 flight. I actually flew much earlier, way back at 7 to 9 a.m. But I'm just getting home and I'm just being able to record the video. So for your purposes, I just completed my 9th flight. My 9th flight. I've officially had my introduction to the circuit pattern. I did 3 takeoffs and 3 landings today, with the last landing being one that was actually completed only by me with only verbal instruction, and things went really well today. And once again, I'm thankful for the Father and all the blessings he has given me to continue pursuing this journey and the way I've been able to perform. All glory goes to him. Now today was a lot of firsts. I got to make my first radio call where we state that we're going to go for patterns instead of just going to the regular training area. I had my first turns to crosswind, downwind, and base within one pattern. I also had a lot of rejected takeoffs today, a lot of rejected takeoff practice, and as well as a lot of bird avoidance, or should I say a lot of heightened bird awareness. Now, to just give a summary of how the flight went, it went well. To break it down step by step, we had the ground ups, then we taxied out, did 3 rejected takeoffs, then we did our real takeoff, did a pattern, came back in, did another set of 3 rejected takeoffs, did another pattern, came back in, and then did another pattern, and then that was it. Normally we would have been going to around 1.5 hours of flight time, but since I had a class to teach at 9 at this flight school, I was only able to fit in those 3 takeoffs and landings, which were about 1 hour in total. Now the circuits, breaking them down, it may not be as detailed as doing the maneuvers because there's less to do, but also at the same time there's more to do in less time, if you think of it that way. So just keep that in mind in case some of these videos about the circuits come off as shorter than my previous debriefs. So the ground ups went fine. I think I can actually stop mentioning my ground ups performance because my ground ups have been to standard for so long now that there isn't really much that would go wrong or much that would be changing or improving. So if you ever see me mention ground ups again, that's how you know that I slipped up. Now, taxiing and backtracking the runway, since we had so much runway available to us, we decided to practice rejected takeoffs, which of course would be good to know because if a bird was to fly across into our flight path, you kind of would want to know how to stop the plane as quickly as possible, because in the event of bird strike, if you are not at your rotation speed, if you can still stop on the runway, why wouldn't you? Because it's a lot easier to look at that on the ground after you get back off the runway than it would be to deal with it in the air as you try to climb out and worry about everything else. So my rejected takeoffs, they went well. I have an idea of the different steps to it. I just need to get better at executing them. So for me, I have to go power to idle, the flaps comes up, brakes, and as soon as I'm braking, I'm also pulling back on the elevator. Now my issue today was that I'm not braking evenly, which means I'm drifting a little to the sides, and I'm also not braking high enough. Because if you think about it, I train in a 152. If I was in any larger plane which uses more runway, I really would have to worry about how much runway I have left available to stop with. So what my instructor was giving me feedback about was to be more urgent with my braking, which I understand. I just need to get more competent at hitting the brakes at the same time that quickly. But of course, when it comes to getting faster at a skill, you need to be able to complete it competently slowly, and then slowly you add more and more speed into how you execute the skill, which of course will allow you to perform it as quickly as necessary. Other than that, there was an instance where I accidentally went flaps up first before pulling back to the power because I was just so focused on getting everything done as quickly as possible that I was just, okay, flaps, and then no, power. So that was a little slip up. My instructor reassured me that I don't need to rush in doing the steps as how I was doing them. it can be as simple as, okay, abort, all right, I heard abort, so power, make sure I rapidly pull it back, and then flaps, and then brake. So the rejected takeoffs, a lot to be improved on, but it's a good start, and I'm looking forward to mastering it as well as every other skill. Now for the circuit itself, taking off with the intention of coming back, it's a lot different than our normal departure to go to our training area, because that altitude we level off at 1,000, but for the circuit altitude we level off at 800 feet. So there's 200 less feet for us to worry about. That being said, I also have to be ahead of my game when it comes to picking reference points. I need to be able to find a reference point and make sure I am not drifting left or right of the center line of the runway. I'm supposed to fly that extended center line up to 500 feet so I can begin my crosswind turn. It was early in the morning, so due to the winds, we had to use the less common runway, which means we have to do a right pattern instead of a left pattern. Because if we did a left pattern on this runway, we'd be flying over a lot of refineries and stuff. So normally we just use a right-hand pattern. So my first experience with a pattern circuit was a right-hand pattern, but at the same time, it wasn't as bad. I just have to be able to point out the same amount of I just have to be able to point out the same reference points from the left seat at the farther end of the bank, but it's nothing I can't get over. One of my biggest feedbacks for the circuit itself was to be able to maintain my nose up attitude when I'm in a crosswind, because my instructor noted that I was dipping a little bit when I was entering that crosswind turn. I also need to make sure that I put in more roll and equal amount of rudder as much as possible, because it's not like I'm on a relaxed departure. I'm trying to come back in as much of a uniform shape as possible, which of course means that I need to be making those turns as tightly as possible, because in the event of an engine failure, I need to have as little distance from the airport. And that's the next thing about circuits. It's you really start to shift your attention to how much can I get away with? How close am I to the airport in case something goes wrong? There's a lot of emergency focus going on, which I'll get into later. Now, we turn crosswind, we turn downwind, which ties into the bigger feedback my instructor gave me, was that I need to be able to pick up on where the wind is blowing from. So if I need to be quicker to notice, okay, it's drifting me to the right, correct for the right. It's drifting me to the left, okay, I need to correct for the left. I just need to be quicker to pick that up and then put in the corrections as necessary. That's it. So now we're fine going downwind. We then make a turn onto base. It was fine, just the same feedback as my crosswind and downwind turns. Just be a little more aggressive with the roll and the rudder to ensure that the turn is as tight as possible. And then final went well. I had to adjust to the sight picture, because most of the time we landed on the opposite runway for my previous flight. So this was the first time I was actually landed on this runway for this purpose. But it went well, and actually it was to the point that on the last pattern that we did, my instructor actually let me do the landing with only my instructor's verbal instructions, and it was actually a greaser, as he called it. He called it that, not me. But at least it goes without saying that I'm very proud and very happy as to how well I was able to perform in just the first circuit. Now the flight's over and I get my feedback at the end of the day, because as I said, I had to teach a class between 9 and the rest of the day. So I get my feedback, and it's a lot of study, a lot of reading ahead I need to do, which of course is something I always talk about. It's all, when it comes to aviation, it's not necessarily a difficult thing, but if you don't put in that work to read ahead of time, it's going to come back and bite you. So despite me being tired, despite me having work tomorrow and everything, I need to make sure I still put in that work, because there's plenty of time left in the day. Plenty of time. Now, how well am I going to use that time? Time will tell, but I'm very confident that I will use it to the best of my ability, especially if it advances my progress in this pursuit. Thank you so much for watching. This video might have been a little more freeform or a little more rambly than usual. It's just been a long day. It's just been a long day. So if you made it this far, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. Is there anything I could improve on? Let me know. My name has been Robert Watson. I'll see you again very soon. Remember to always be improving. God bless.
Yeah. I only tell you the truth. I ain't got nothing to lose. Yeah. I gave my life to God and I'm still ballin'. Ain't nobody that can tell me I ain't all in. Late at night I hear the devil steady calling me. That's when I pray to the Father that He give me strength to fight these monsters.